Hello, everybody, and yeah, so I got a quick one for you guys. We're not actually going to be in-game on Legends. I'm just going to go over my picks for Tier 5 or Tier 5 Arena. For Tier 5 Ranked, so I did a community post just letting you guys know what I would be going with if I was to play Ranked. Now, I will be playing a little bit of Ranked here and there throughout the day and maybe throughout the next few days. But, yeah, because I've been taking a little bit of a break, if you will. You guys know how it is. But yeah, I just thought I would quickly make a video for you guys, just going over why I would pick these. So yeah, so Hyuga first up on my list for battleships. We're gonna cover the battleships real quick. My top 3 picks. First off, Hyuga. Hyuga is one of those boats at Tier 5 that if you have it, it's just one of those. Mwah. It's a fantastic battleship. And the reason being, it's got, well, 12, 14-inch guns. You got a reload booster. They hit very hard, especially when you get broadsides or superstructure hits. And the reload on Hyuga, man, oh, it's just a really good solid pick. And not to mention the fact that it has also pretty good armor. It's got pretty good speed. So yeah, and it's got pretty good turret arrangement in terms of firing angles. You don't have to swing out super broadside. You can do the dreadnought shuffle, get those 12, 14-inch guns off, turn back in. Now, if you don't have the Hyuga, another good pick would be to go with the Fuso. The Fuso is another really good, solid option at tier 5. It's basically the Hyuga, just a little worse. So, you know how wargaming be. Now, moving on, next ship of my choice here would be the Warspite / the Queen Elizabeth. In my opinion, they're pretty much the same, except that the Warspite has slightly harder hitting guns than the Queen. So if you don't have Warspite, you could just go with Queen Elizabeth. Yeah, the Queen Elizabeth and the Warspite, the special thing about these battleships here is they are fantastic for hitting people super freaking hard. They got those classic 15-inch, 381mm guns. They're usually 60-70% of the time railguns. You get pretty damn good results out of these battleships. Now, the only downside to these battleships is the armor's not exactly the greatest. You got a lot of superstructure. The turrets are weak. Same thing with the Hyuga as well, really, in terms of turret armor. But the armor in Hyuga is very good. You got 26mm everywhere. You got pretty good belt. However, the Queens, they're lacking in the armor. But what they do have is solid guns at Tier 5. I think they are the best. Now, there's some debates for Mutsu in West Virginia. I don't like the Mutsu or the West Virginia very much at all. Trust me, I love my American battleships, but I can't say West Virginia is up there for me. It's not consistent enough. And that's what I'm looking for with my cruisers, with my battleships, and with my destroyers. I want consistency. That's what I'm looking for. And I don't get consistency out of Warspite. I don't get consistency out of Mutsu or West Virginia, unfortunately. So, yeah, Warspite, Queen, they got very big guns. They don't have a lot of them, but you got 8 of them, and they hit very hard when they do hit where they need to. And yeah, very solid options there. Queen Elizabeth, Warspite, 2 fantastic battleships. And the third one, now you can pick here. I just put this one in here, California. Now, California you can get, or you could have got for free a couple of years ago from the Bureau, but the reason why I think Cali's up here is just because of the pure weight of the salvos. You got a lot of 14-inch guns to dish out. Really, you can play Cali, you can play Tennessee, you can play any of these standard American dreadnoughts, but Cali just has a special place in my heart. Now, you could literally put anything in this slot here, but for me, Cali would probably be my 3rd pick. I love my Cali, and yeah, I would not mind taking this thing out and ranked, even though there's no carriers. So, yeah, it hits very hard. It's got pretty decent 14-inch guns. They're not the most accurate in the world, but they do what they got to do, especially when you get broadsides. Just like the Hyuga, for example. Now, if I had to pick between Hyuga and Cali, I would pick Hyuga every single time. In terms of just reload and getting those shots out there, it just has that, man. Hyuga throws out so much shit at the enemy. It ain't even funny. Cali does it too, but not as fast. So that's kind of the downside with Cali. It's got a very heavy broadside, like most of the 12-gun battleships at Tier 5. But compared to Hyuga, I would not say. Now, you could swap this. Like, a lot of people might be going with Dunkirks. A lot of people might be going with some German battleships. It's up to you guys. Put whatever you want in this 3rd slot. I prefer Cali. Next up, cruisers. Let's get into the cruisers. Now, Pensacola, A lot of you guys are probably gonna be like wondering, why is the Pensacola in my list? And yes, I know I'm gonna talk about the big elephant in the room when it comes to Pensacola. I am fully aware it's got a citadel bigger than God's fucking asshole. Okay, I'm fully aware, but the great thing about the Pensacola is its guns, the 8-inch guns, man. These things are phenomenal. The AP is fantastic. It rips apart anything that gives it broadside. Now, even battleships have to be worried when you go broadside to a Pensacola's 8-inch guns. The AP on the Pensacola and really all American heavy cruisers is fantastic. The guns, the guns, the guns, the guns. Even the HE's pretty damn good. You can get a lot of fires, you could smack around destroyers, and even cruisers. Shit, you could smack anybody around the HE. It's got a pretty decent fire chance. On mine build, I got about a 17% fire chance, so you can't really go wrong with the Pensacola. I think Pensacola is great until you get hit by AP. So what you guys need to be doing in your Pensacola's is just not fucking going broadside to everybody and, you know, making it easy. Turn, dodge, use islands, use your concealment. It's that simple. Really, all cruisers should be played like that. Don't be going around saying that, oh, I don't like Pensacola, I don't like Omahas, I don't like these cruisers because they get citadeled. I don't see the fucking validation for that argument. If you're having a problem getting nuked, it's a skill issue, 100%. Use islands. Use your concealment. Dodge. Maneuver. It's that fucking simple. Now, don't get me wrong. You still occasionally might get fucking beamed across the map by a bunch of people targeting you. Trust me, you could be turning, you could be dodging as much as you need to. You still might take some citadels. And that's kind of the risk you take when you're in a cruiser these days. There's that risk you will just get nuked, regardless of how much you try not to. So, despite the risk, I think it's worth it. Pensacola, although it's lacking in the armor department, like shit, most cruisers are, but it's lacking in the armor department, but what it has is guns. What it has is speed. What it has is agility in some areas. The other downside is, of course, the turret rotation. Turret rotation is pretty bad as well. But other than that, the Pensacola is great, in my opinion. It's got fantastic guns, and that's it. That's the redeeming quality for it right there. And they're consistent. They're very consistent guns. Next up, Exeter. Exeter is a lot. It's going to be a lot of people's choices. Exeter's a great ship. It's got good maneuverability, good speed. It's got 6 8-inch guns. It's a very good, solid option. It's got those smokes, it's got heals, it's got sonar, it's got a lot of utility. And this is a very, very good Tier 5 cruiser, mainly for that reason alone. It's got a lot of utility, it's got a lot of agility, and it has some pretty damn decent guns. Now, you're not going to be dishing out as much DPM as you would, at least, in like a Pensacola, but what you have to make up for that is the maneuverability, the speed, the agility, all that stuff. And that's kind of where the Exeter shines. It's an agile cruiser, and me personally, I'm not a big fan of agile cruisers, but if I had the Exeter, I would definitely go with this thing as probably my second, because I know it's great at that. And I am one of those players that loves kiting around and absolutely ruining people's days. But it also is pretty damn good at contesting caps too, because of the fact that you got those smokes, you got those sonars, and you can just get in there and be pretty aggressive in some areas. So, Exeter, a solid option at Tier 5. Would I take it over my Pensacola? Fuck no. I love my Pensacola. I love my guns on it, man. But Exeter, a solid option at Tier 5. The other one is the Graf Spee. Now, the Graf Spee, you could put whatever you want in the third slot here. But me personally, I don't care for Graf Spee as much either, but Graf Spee's got them battleship caliber guns. It hits very hard. Now, they're not consistent as much as like the Pensacola, the Exeter or anything, but they're still very big guns for a cruiser. You've got very good armor for a cruiser. Now, the downside of that armor is battleships will have no issue nuking you. You're crunchy. You're going to get smacked around by battleships. Yes, you're a battle cruiser, but you're really not. I mean, like, you got big guns, but that's it. That's the only thing good about Graf Spee. Oh yeah, and the sonar, the German sonar. But other than that, yeah, treat this thing like a battleship in some scenarios, but be careful, because all it takes is one decent battleship player to ruin your day in Graf Spee, and just like really any of these cruisers. But Graf Spee, it's got those 8-kilometer torpedoes. It's got those 280-millimeter guns to smack around anything, really. It's got a lot of things at its disposal. It's got those heals. It's got that sonar. So overall, it's a fantastic cruiser. However, when you're fighting up against battleships, that's where you got to be a little worrisome. You got to be using those islands, close the distance even, and get those torpedoes off. Grafspee, it's a special ship. That's to say the least. It's something I haven't mastered, but a lot of people do like the Grafspee. You guys will be probably seeing a lot of them out there, just like the Exeter. Now, moving on to the destroyers. I would personally go with Mayhan. I love my American gunboats. If you guys have been watching the channel long enough, you guys know how much I love my American destroyers. Mahan, man, it has fantastic guns. Not because they hit hard, but because they can you can dish out so much firepower. 3-second reload, 5 127mm 5-inch guns. The rapid reloading, man, you can destroy any destroyer you come across. The guns, man, it's a gunboat. I love it. Really, there's nothing wrong with this thing. The only downside to it is it's got pretty shitty torpedoes. So there's really not much options in terms of torpedoing people and stealth torping. However, in my opinion, the Mayhan succeeds in gunboating other destroyers, getting those caps, spotting. That's mainly your job anyway in a destroyer, is to get those caps and to spot. However, the next ship on my list here is the T-61. T-61 is also very, very, very deadly at Tier 5, mainly because, number one, it's got very, very, very good anti-destroyer role purpose here in terms of the sonar smoke combo that the T-61 has. The sonar is very, very, very useful to have on T-61. And really for any destroyer, especially when it goes out pretty far like the Germans do. I think it's like 4.8 on the T-61. Someone could correct me in the comments. I don't really remember, but I know it's pretty damn decent. And also the T-61 does have pretty good guns. They're not anywhere near as good as the Mayhan, but they are still pretty good. So in terms of cap contesting and, you know, dishing a lot of torpedoes out too. These torpedoes reload very quick. 8-kilometer base range, I think, or it might be 7. It's one of the two. But I know you can get it out to 8-9 kilometers if you build for it. And you got like a 60-second reload. You're dishing out 8 torpedoes every minute. That's fantastic. Not to mention you got those guns. You've got the sonar. You've got a lot of utility with this destroyer. T-61, very solid. Next up on my list, Icarus. A lot of people are probably wondering, why the Icarus? Well, same thing like the T-61. It's got sonar. Now, it doesn't have as good as sonar as a T-61, but it still has sonar. It's got also those smoke screens that the British have. What I mean by that is, oh yeah, speaking of smoke screens, the Americans also have that 2-minute smoke screen on the Mayhan. Another reason to love American destroyers. But no, going back to the British smoke screens, the special thing about these guys is they have like these short duration smoke screens. You've got 8 of them if you build for it, and you can just quickly pop smoke screens every 30 seconds and just really piss people off with it. It's a fantastic destroyer. Really, all the British destroyers, Tier 5 and up, in my opinion, are pretty decent for that. And also, not to mention, you've got pretty good guns. You've got pretty okay sonar. It's not the greatest. It's not anywhere near as good as the Germans, but it's still pretty good. And not to mention, you've got pretty decent torpedoes. Now, they're not as fast reloading as the Germans. You don't got like a 60-second reload. You got about 1:30 if you build for it. But they hit very hard. British torpedoes are deadly. They hit pretty hard. And not to mention, they have sequential firing torpedoes. So you can fire one at a time. You could put 3 here, you could put 3 over here, and the rest somewhere else. You can spread out torpedoes pretty evenly. And that's kind of nice to have. Now, once again, you can put whatever you want in this 3rd slot here. But I would go with Icarus. Icarus is a fantastic destroyer, in my opinion, just for that. It's got decent guns. It's got decent sonar. It's got those split smokes, or whatever you want to call them, the short duration smokes that you can keep popping to retreat and stuff like that. And you got those torpedoes. Torpedoes are pretty damn decent, although they do load a little bit quicker. But in my opinion, I think the Icarus and the T-61 are pretty good at like a jack-of-all-trades kind of role there. They're pretty damn good at everything. Not pretty damn good, but they're all right in everything. So, yeah, that's my list for all of the ships for ranked this season. I hope you all have maybe learned something from this video. Maybe this helps you. If it does, make sure to go down there, hit the like button. It does help out the channel a lot. I take some time out of my day to hopefully help you guys out there. Sorry that we're not in game, but I'm not playing WoW's Legends right now. I really don't feel like getting on the game at all. But I just thought I would talk a little bit, give you guys my list for Tier 5 ranked. And yeah, nonetheless, guys, I hope to see some of you guys out on the waves. Hope to see you guys in the live streams that'll be coming, I'm sure, in the future, and of course, future videos once I get back into the mood for them. But with all that being said, everybody, I thank you guys for watching, and as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out. Stay healthy.